gospel has a darkness about it. The way I felt confused about everything. Is it red? Is it purple? Is it water outside? All kinds of craziness. Just kidding. But there's a darkness about this gospel from the Passion account. And of course, we don't like to think of any of the apostles as being bad, but here we have, Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Jesus in the center of our Holy Week Wednesday, and almost as if step by step, today we get this reminder about kind of all the things that had to fall into place, so to speak, for the crucifixion to happen. And one of the dark moments, as I said, is this moment where Jesus tells the apostles that somebody's going to betray me. Now, when we think about the betrayal of Jesus, there have been some in maybe the psychological crowd, psychologists, counselors, who would want to kind of look a little bit deeper into Judas and figure out, what was his motivation. We know that it was prophesied that he would betray, one of them would betray. So we know that's part of prophecy, but aside from that, what's the psychological analysis of all of Judas? Well, he might have been, a control freak saying Jesus has just gone too far. He's just gone too far, we need to rein him in. And that might have been a motivation. Just saying, if he gets in trouble, all of us are going to get into trouble, and I don't like that thought. So Judas goes to the priest and says, okay, what if we hand him over to you? Now, Judas probably wouldn't have imagined that crucifixion was on the horizon for Jesus, right? Because remember, the Jewish folk did not have the right to put anybody to death. So, in the back of his mind, he was probably not thinking about, the calamity that would follow. Judas probably was thinking he'll get a dressing down, he'll be expelled from the temple, who knows what. But this horrendous suffering and death would have not probably been on his mind, because he was just turning him over to who? But the Jewish leaders. But then, rein him in, give him dressing down, whatever, expel him from the temple, no more teaching, no more whatever, and make him Jesus a pariah of the community. Shun him. Very, typical Jewish way of approaching things. Shun him. But, Judas, either knowingly or unknowingly, unwittingly or wittingly, said that he would be the betrayer. And I think the regret that he had in betraying Jesus comes through the rest of the Passion account of Matthew, when we hear that he gives back the 30 pieces of silver, again back to the source, and throws it, at him and runs off and hangs himself, realizing just how bad things got. You wonder, the Passion account is kind of written in what I would call a concise, maybe even expedient way. You wonder what the time frame is. Was Jesus finally condemned to death when Judas went through those coins back and says, I don't want any part of this. This wasn't the deal, It wasn't supposed to be death and dying. It was supposed to be just a dressing down, So was that part of his regret and part of why he indeed was deeply troubled, so much so that he killed himself? There are so many ways that we can speculate about it. The clues within the text kind of give us a hint. But again, most of all, we know that the prophecy of the struck and the sheep would be scattered. And that this, great passion of Christ was never probably imagined by Judas to go to the extreme that it did. And, it's one of those moments within, again, the whole context of thinking about the saints and the apostles and everybody, and it's like the darkness is there. And the reason why I circle back there is because we know we all have the potential for that darkness. We all have that potential that, somebody within the circle of the Lord can betray him. And it's part of our human nature, to not necessarily always do the godly thing. I don't know if you've noticed, but it's kind of hard to do the godly thing all the time, right? I mean, have you noticed that? I don't know. Right? But even to take it the next step further, by betraying, the Lord, I think it's just, for me, a very clear reminder of how hard we have to work to follow the Lord, to be faithful to the covenant, to be, one with the Lord in communion with him. It takes a lot of work, and it always is calling us to be vigilant of the moments where we might betray the Lord. And thanks be to God and Jesus that we have a remedy for that in the sacrament of reconciliation, that we have an opportunity to realize that we have betrayed the Lord in his ways, his teachings, and be reunited, reconnected to the community. In our regret or in our sorrow, we can go to the Lord and say, I'm sorry, and he will forgive us our sins. What a great change, from, the great and deep regret that maybe what we know that Judas experienced. We have a remedy, and it's only because of Jesus dying on the cross that we have that remedy, even in the sacrament of reconciliation. So, fittingly, the weather is crummy out there, so it makes us feel like we want to think about betrayal and all those harsh, dark things today, right in the middle of Holy Week. Go figure. It's supposed to be a happy time. I thought Holy Week came. But here we have, just a dark moment in the Passion account that calls us to ponder in a deep way, kind of the great mystery of God's love and our own, possibilities of denying him, betraying him, whatever it is, in our humanity. So we ask for the strength to persevere as followers. Let's stand and pray for our church.